My parents had never gone to college, but they were convinced that their daughter was going to go. As my mother said, just in case you ever need it, you can support yourself. I looked at University of Wisconsin-Madison. I had a scholarship there. It was big. And I knew Carroll because I'd been on that campus. It was smaller. My dad, sort of with a great deal of angst, watched me sign away the UW scholarship and choose Carroll. But I think the tipping point for Carroll was the head of admissions at that point, Shirley Hilger. She made personal visits to people's homes. And she came to our home in Milwaukee and talked to me and my parents about Carroll. And my parents were convinced that Carroll would take good care of their daughter, and I was convinced it would be a really good place to go to college. The roommates, the friends you make, the dorm life, that part of college is really a part of the overall experience that is valuable along with the courses. And certainly the academic part for me was opening up areas that, I'd never had in high school. I ended up with a major and 2 minors. My major was Spanish. I minored in sociology. It was 1 course short of a major in sociology. My goal was to get into a school district position. I had been interning during my doctorate and was sort of ready to launch into administrative roles in a school district. But when we moved to a far distant state, I gave up tenure. Tenure in higher ed, as you know, is no small thing. To start over was not a happy thought. I did get hired in a faculty role in a wonderful selective research, small private research university, Lehigh University. It turned out that that was really the turning point for my career. I didn't know it. We thought we had gone there because of Doug's job. We looked back and he said, we really went there because of yours, we just didn't know it. But the center that I worked in as Director of Education, K through 12, was the Iacocca Institute. It came to me and said, I think you really have some skills. You ought to be considering moving up in administration in higher ed. I'd like to work with you. I was accepted in a national fellowship program to really prepare people for college presidencies. And so at the end of that is when I started moving in a career then. But all of that because I went to Lehigh and found this incredible mentor, got these incredible opportunities. So from there, I went to Butler University as the Dean of the School of Education. From there to University of Mount Union. One of my favorite stories, I was the first chief academic officer that was a female. And we met with an alum that was just this outstanding, kind of assertive woman that had made it on her own. And she met me and she said, so you're Dean of Women? And I said, well, actually, I'm Dean of the college. And she said, the whole damn thing? And my colleagues made a name tag for me that said Saundra Tracy, Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the whole damn college. I still have the name tag, but it was a day and age when, being the first on virtually every one of those. And then from there, I was recruited to Alma. I wasn't quite ready to leave Mount Union, but Alma opened and a dear friend approached me in the fall and said, you really ought to look at this. And I think you're supposed to be here. My husband said, what don't you get about this? Maybe you ought to look at it. And within a week, I was named president of Alma. And so we ended up at Alma, which was a wonderful venture. In the senior roles I was in, each one, I went into a fractured community. People weren't happy with each other. Groups weren't happy with each other. And organizations just don't move forward if people aren't all pulling the same direction. So the first job was to get the place moving in the same direction. When I was at Alma, we were doing this kind of the traditional strategic planning thing. Right after I walked in the door, we were still trying to put the fractures pieces back together. And I went to the student senate one night and I put up on the screen the mission statement of the college. I said, this is the mission and we're working on the plan and these are the priorities that we're looking at. We want some feedback on the priorities. And the student in the front row, he goes, President Tracy, that's not the mission for the college I go to. And I'm like, okay, because we weren't going to change the mission. And somebody else said, no, that's not the college I know. And I said, you know what? We got to go back and start from ground zero. We got to think about the mission. The students don't identify with it whatsoever. And we did. And finally at one meeting, we put something together and there was just dead silence. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to be another year doing this one, you know. I said, okay, why is nobody saying anything? And somebody said, because that's it, that's us. And it was. So that's the kind of, I think, leadership of building and planning that go hand in hand. When I graduated from Carroll, if anybody had said that my career trajectory would look like it did, I would have laughed. I would have thought they're crazy. That's not at all. I was going to be a stay-at-home mother, consummate minister's wife that served tea and coffee at the manse, and that was going to be our life together. I used to tell students, what do you do from an education in a liberal arts-based institution? Anything you want to, and I really believe that. What do you do with Spanish and sociology? Good grief. Anything you want to. And indeed, I think my career followed that path.